You've been avoiding me. I already knew.
Huh? Listen, my people. Gather round, because today's story will teach you something about love, about pride, and about the things we hide from people who love us are usually smaller than the things they are already carrying for us in silence. Sit back, relax, and let's go to Ajal Street in the heart of Mile 2, where this whole matter started. Right at the junction, beside the woman who sells roasted plantain, and directly opposite the church with the loudspeaker that never rests, there was a small mechanic workshop with a hand-painted signboard that read, Ebuka Autos. We fix 'em, we know they disappoint. The paint was peeling on the letters, but the workshop itself, that place was always busy. Engine oil smell in the air like perfume, radio blasting old high-life music, and young boys in oil-stained singlets rolling tires around like it was exercise. This was the kingdom of Ebuka. 27 years old, mechanic, and, my people, let me just be honest with you the way the story deserves, a man that poverty had personally signed a contract with. Now, understand something, Ebuka was not lazy. No. This was a hard-working young man who could diagnose an engine problem with his ear alone, the way a doctor listens to your chest. But hard work and money, as we all know, are not always married. Sometimes they are just neighbors who wave at each other from a distance. Ebuka's trousers had exactly one good knee left. His slippers had converted, through years of loyal service, into something closer to a suggestion of slippers than actual slippers. And his workshop, though full of customers, was full of the type of customers who paid small, next week. And, my people, you already know this phrase from experience, God go bless you, my brother, I go balance you. Ebuka had heard I go balance you so many times in his life that he could recite it in 3 different accents. He lived in a single room behind the workshop, which he rented from a landlord he had never once met in person. All his dealings were with the landlord's agent, a small, round man called Mr. Fidelis, who came every month like clockwork, sucking his teeth, adjusting his belt over his belly, and saying the same 4 words, Oga don't send me. Now, my people, pay attention, because this is where the story starts to breathe. One Tuesday morning, a small silver Toyota pulled up in front of Ebuka's workshop. The woman who stepped out of it was, how do I even describe her? The kind of fine that market women stop mid-sentence and start whispering. She wore a simple gown, nothing flashy, hair packed simply, but she carried herself like she had somewhere important to be and was choosing, out of pure kindness, to be here instead. Good morning, she said. My car is making a small sound. Can you check it? Ebuka, wiping his hands on a rag that had long stopped being useful for wiping anything, walked around the car twice, listened to the engine, checked under the bonnet, checked the tires, checked everything a trained ear and eye could check. Madam, he said finally, I no hear anything wrong with this car. She smiled, a small private smile, the kind that knows something you don't. Maybe check again. Sometimes the sound only comes when you're driving. Ebuka, being a professional, checked again. Nothing. He told her the car was perfectly fine, refused to collect money for a job he didn't do because Ebuka, whatever else you want to say about the boy, had integrity, and she thanked him and drove off. The following Tuesday, the same silver Toyota returned. The sound is back, she said. My people, this continued for 4 straight weeks. Every Tuesday, without fail, this same fine woman would bring this same perfectly healthy car, claiming one mysterious sound or another. A rattle here, a squeak there, a something is not correct that no mechanic on earth could locate. Because, my people, there was nothing to locate. The car was healthier than half of the customers who actually needed repairs. By the 3rd week, Chidi, the apprentice who worked under Ebuka, a small sharp-eyed boy of about 19, started noticing things. He noticed that this woman's problems always happened to require Ebuka's personal attention, not his. He noticed that she always stayed to wait for the car, even when the diagnosis took 2 minutes. He noticed that Ebuka, who normally ate his lunch standing up in 5 minutes flat like a soldier, had started buying 2 plates of rice on Tuesdays instead of 1. Oga, said Chidi one afternoon, grinning like a boy who had discovered a secret. This woman no get problem with her cow. Now you be the problem. Chidi, face your work, Ebuka said. But even as he said it, he was smiling like a man who had already lost the argument in his heart. Her name, she told him eventually, was Ada. Just Ada. No surname, no address, no details about her family. And Ebuka, being the kind of man who didn't want to look like he was investigating a woman he liked, never pushed. She said she worked in an office nearby. She said she was still finding her feet. She said things that painted a picture, my people, of a woman managing life the same way everybody on that street was managing life, small. And so Ebuka, who already had nothing to spare, began sparing things anyway. Free repairs that weren't needed, lunch bought and shared under the mango tree behind the workshop, small gifts, a phone charger when hers spoiled, recharge card when she complained about network. He was not a rich man giving from abundance. He was a poor man giving from love, which, if you ask me, my people, is the most expensive kind of giving there is. This babe could chop your last money finish, Chidi warned him one evening, sweeping the workshop floor. You dey give am free service, free food, free everything. Meanwhile, your rent don't almost cost you your shop. And here, my people, is where the story stops laughing for one small moment and gets serious. Because Chidi was not lying. Mr. Fidelis, the landlord's agent, had been coming more frequently, and his voice had lost its usual sing-song patience. The landlord, a man Ebuka had never met, only heard about in fearful market rumors, a man they called simply Oga Landlord, said to be wealthy, said to be strict, said to have thrown out 3 other shop owners on that same street without blinking, had given a final notice. 2 months' rent owed, 1 more month of delay, and Ebuka Autos would be locked, padlocked, sealed, finished. Ebuka did not tell Ada any of this. Why would he? A man does not tell the woman he is trying to impress that he is one signature away from losing everything. So every Tuesday, he continued smiling, continued giving what he did not have, while quietly at night, doing calculations on a piece of paper that never balanced, no matter how many times he tried. Then came the day that changed everything, my people. Listen well. It was a Thursday. Not even her usual Tuesday, when Ebuka went to deliver a repaired car part to a big house on Aliyu Close. A house that Ebuka had heard of but never entered. The kind of house with high gates, security men in uniform, and dogs that sounded bigger than the gate itself. The house where Oga Landlord lived. He was let in by a gateman who barely looked at him, told to drop the part at the boys' quarters and to wait for signature. And that, my people, is when Ebuka, standing awkwardly in a compound he did not belong in, looked up and saw Ada walking out of the main house, in a wrapper, calling out to someone inside, "Daddy, I'm going out. Don't forget your medicine." Daddy. The gateman, seeing Ebuka's frozen face, chuckled. "You never see Madam Ada before? Oga Landlord's only daughter. The whole of Ajao Street, they pay rent, enter his papa pocket." My people, Ebuka's legs nearly gave way right there under that boy's quarters roof. The woman he had been feeding rice, giving free repairs, sharing his last transport fare with, was the daughter of the very man who was about to lock up his shop. Now, before you judge Ebuka for what happened next, understand the man's state of mind. In one moment, everything rearranged itself in his head like puzzle pieces forced into the wrong picture. Was this whole thing a joke? Was she laughing at him behind closed doors, telling her rich friends about the mechanic she fooled with fake car noises? Was her father sending her to spy on him to see if the debtor deserved mercy or deserved to be thrown out with his tools scattered on the road? Shame, my people, is a powerful thing. It can make a sensible man do the most senseless things. Ebuka stopped answering Ada's calls. When she came to the workshop the following Tuesday, he sent Chidi to tell her he had traveled. When she came again the Tuesday after that, he hid inside the storeroom among old tires until she left, peeping through a crack in the door like a criminal watching for police. Chidi, confused and increasingly frustrated, kept asking, "Oga, wetin happen? Wetin this poor girl do you?" "She's not poor, Chidi," Ebuka finally confessed one night, heavy. "She's the landlord's daughter." Chidi's mouth fell open so wide you could have packed a car in it. Oga, this one passed me, oh. Word, as it always does on streets like Ajao Street, began to leak. Not because anyone meant harm, but because secrets in that kind of neighborhood have a way of walking on their own legs. Mama Bisi, who sold roasted plantain by the junction and had watched this whole romance blossom under her nose every Tuesday, was the first to connect it when she overheard Mr. Fidelis mention Oga's daughter in passing. "Wait," she said, nearly dropping her fanning tray. "You mean the fine babe wey Ebuka don dey feed rice every week na Oga landlord pikin?" By the following morning, the entire street knew. And my people, when I tell you the gossip that followed was sweeter than any radio drama, believe me. Everyone had a theory. Some said Ebuka was smart, feeding the landlord's daughter to soften her heart towards his rent. Others said he was a fool for running from the very connection that could save his business. The Okada riders discussed it at their stage. The women discussed it at the borehole. Even the church loudspeaker pastor unknowingly preached a sermon that Sunday about divine connections you almost missed because of shame, and half the congregation turned to look at Ebuka's empty seat. But Ebuka, hiding in his room, avoiding calls, avoiding Tuesdays, knew nothing of any of this. All he knew was heartbreak dressed up as pride, telling himself he had done the right thing by disappearing before she could humiliate him first. Then, on a Friday afternoon, exactly 9 days after he last spoke to her, Mr. Fidelis walked into the workshop with an expression Ebuka had never seen on his face before. Not the usual "Oga don send me" scowl. Something softer, almost confused. "Ebuka," he said, "your rent don't balance." Ebuka blinked. Balance? Balance how? "Somebody don't pay everything. 2 months where you owe, plus advance for next quarter. Full payment. Oga collect am himself yesterday." "Who paid?" Mr. Fidelis simply pointed because at that exact moment, a silver Toyota pulled up in front of the workshop and Ada stepped out. Not smiling this time. Arms folded, eyes red like she hadn't slept properly in days. The whole street, my people, and I mean the whole street because word had spread that fast, seemed to suddenly find urgent business near Ebuka Autos that afternoon. Mama Bisi's plantain tray had never been arranged so slowly. Chidi had never swept one small corner of floor for 15 straight minutes. Everybody was watching, pretending not to watch. "You've been avoiding me," Ada said, voice steady but hot underneath it. Ebuka opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Ada, I saw your house. I saw who your father is. I didn't want you to think..." "Think what? That you are only nice to me because of who my father was?" "Ebuka, I've spent my whole life with men being nice to me because of who my father is. Do you know why I came here every Tuesday with a car that had nothing wrong with it? Because for the first time, somebody was kind to me without knowing there was anything in it for him. You gave me free food when you didn't have money to spare for yourself. You didn't even know my surname for 1 full month. Do you understand what that meant to me?" Ebuka stood there, my people, like a man struck by lightning that didn't hurt, just illuminated. "I paid the rent before I even knew you had stopped answering my calls. I found out from my father's file 3 weeks ago that Ebuka Autos was owing, and I paid it quietly because I didn't want you feeling like I was doing you a favor because of romance. I did it because you deserved it. Then you disappeared on me anyway." The streets, my people, could not hold it in any longer. Mama Bisi let out a sound somewhere between a gasp and a cheer. Chidi, holding his broom like a microphone, whispered loudly to the boy next to him, "Na so real love be, my brother. Take note." Ebuka, humbled all the way down to his oil-stained slippers, walked closer. "Ada, I'm sorry. I let shame talk louder than sense. I thought if you knew how small my life is compared to yours, you'd..." "I already knew," she cut in gently. "I've always known. I just wanted to see if it would change how you looked at me. It didn't, until you found out I was rich, and then suddenly you couldn't look at me at all." Silence, my people. The kind of silence where a man has nowhere left to hide, not even in a storeroom full of old tires. "I was a fool," Ebuka finally said, "Yes, you were, but you are my fool now, so we'll manage it." The street erupted. My people, I wish you could have heard it. Mama Bisi clapping her tray like a talking drum. Chidi going a little victory dance with his broom. The Okada riders at the junction honking their horns for no reason other than pure joy at other people's business finally resolving. But here is the part of the story, my people, that made the whole street change its behavior overnight. Once it became known that Ebuka, humble, oil-stained, slipper-torn Ebuka, was now in a serious relationship with Oga Landlord's only daughter, the whole street suddenly discovered manners it never knew it had. Mr. Fidelis, who used to arrive sucking his teeth, started arriving with actual greetings. "Ebuka, my brother, how market?" Customers who used to owe him money small, started paying in full, upfront, sometimes even overpaying and refusing change. Mama Bisi began accidentally giving him extra plantain as gift. Even the church loudspeaker pastor found reason to specifically greet him after service, shaking his hand a little too long, a little too warmly, as though hoping some blessing would rub off through the handshake. Chidi, watching all this unfold with his sharp 19-year-old eyes, summarized it best one evening as they closed the shop. "Oga, na so this our people be. Nobody want help you when you dey struggle small, but the moment love connects you to correct person, everybody remember say them love you since." Ebuka laughed. The first real laugh in weeks. I could not even argue. 6 months later, Ebuka Autos had a new signboard. Properly painted this time, no peeling letters, and 2 new bays added to handle the growing customer base. Funded not by Oga Landlord's father's money, my people, but by Ebuka's own steadily growing profit. Because once people stopped owing him and started paying correctly, the business that had always deserved to thrive finally did. Oga Landlord himself, after a long and admittedly awkward first meeting, came around slowly, eventually admitting to anyone who'd listen that any man who could make his daughter that happy without knowing his bank account first deserved more respect than half the wealthy suitors who'd come sniffing around before. Ada still brings her car in every Tuesday, and my people, till today, there has till today, never once, not a single time, been anything actually wrong with it. So here, my people, is what this story leaves for us. Sometimes, the love that is real is the love that finds you before it knows what you have and stays after it finds out what you don't. Don't let shame convince you to run from something good just because you feel you don't measure up. The people who truly see you were never counting your slippers in the first place. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. No shortcuts, no I go balance you later. Pay your subscription right now. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever judged somebody wrongly before finding out who they really were? We want to hear your own agile street story. See you in the next one, my people.